Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. This video is to bring you a closer look at the best A00836 Hex nut for mortise cylinder. Not a very common item, but nonetheless, these sure exist, that's for sure. Some basic dimensional properties. Overall width across the flats, about 1 3/8. Thickness of this material, 0.159. The ID is going to be meant for a 1 5/32 diameter mortise cylinder, most definitely. My caliper tells me we're about 1.12. 1.12. Now, this is a nut. You're going to see nuts like this used perhaps in the electrical industry when you're trying to tighten something down, a very thin type of nut, a trim nut, where you don't have really a lot of room for it to project. But you're most definitely going to see this in lots of architectural hardware applications. Why would you be looking at this? Let's talk about that now. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. The typical application for a nut like this would be, well, there are several. The one that always comes to mind first is a cash box. If you have generally a metal container and it's used to hold cash, Friday night at the high school football game, that's the box they keep the money in for the tickets. Those can be prepped to receive a mortise cylinder. The reason you want that is because then that cash box with its mortise cylinder housing and the core you'd stick in it would be keyed with the balance of the system that the high school is on in terms of a keying system. Well, you need a nut to hold that cylinder into the lid of the cash box or the sidewall, whatever it is. Or you're going to see this installed in a key switch. You've got a rectangular plate, single gang plate, momentary action, maintained action, single pull, double throw, double pull, double throw, key switch. You're going to stick a mortise cylinder. You need something to hold it on. A very common application would be an alarm kit for an exit device. You're going to add the ability to have an alarm go off when the device is, when the touchpad is pushed. That kit will go in. You'll install a mortise cylinder in order to bypass or to turn off or reset the alarm. You need a nut like this. Exit device trim. You're going to add a mortise cylinder to it. You're going to need a nut like this. This client has bought 74, and they've bought these over and over again, so I don't know the exact application of what they're using it for. It's unusual to buy 50 or 100 at a time and do that once or twice a year. It must be that they're manufacturing something that it could be a wrought iron gate where there's a mortise cylinder somewhere involved, but they need a way to elegantly hold it in. That's what this would do. I've had people call and order these because they have all the exit device hardware showed up to the job 3 months ago. It's time to install it. The guys are standing around. How do I keep this cylinder in the trim? Forgive me. Send me a picture of all the parts. Well, they do, and it's missing this. It's a mortise cylinder in the sense that the trim requires the cylinder to be held captive in the trim itself, because as you turn the key, you're throwing a trigger back and forth to lock and unlock the thumb piece, is basically what it is. I can demonstrate how this looks. I have just something right off the shelf. This happens to be a typical dummy cylinder, and that's going to thread the cylinder has just got some goober in the thread. So that's how that's going to work. And you're going to tighten that down to the point where it's going to secure itself down to what you're putting on there. Okay? That's what a hex nut for a mortise cylinder or mortise cylinder housing would be. Okay. Let's switch to the screen view and let's take a closer look at some of the supporting information. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Best A00836 hex nut for mortise cylinder. Hex nut for mortise cylinder. There's really not much here to talk about. Let's take a look at the images down below. There's the box with the label. That's what one looks like. Really not a lot to see here, but nonetheless, showing what those threads look like. Okay, now there's a link below this video here to the manufacturer's page. When we click on that, we're going to be able to pull up not only all of the best products that we sell by means of this horizontal navigation as seen here, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, to the full product catalog. We're going to fire that document up. And also a link to some service manuals. Sorry. Yep. Best Access Service Manual. Let's fire that document up as well. First, the product catalog. I'm going to do, I've done a Control F or find function on my keyboard for the A00836. That doesn't come up in the catalog at all. Let's see if it does in the service manual. That service manual is a 1,300 plus page document, and it does show up twice. This is a lost motion cam lock. This is an unusual cam lock. It's a lost motion, which means it's like a deadbolt. You can turn the key, throw the cam to the lock position, rotate the key back, pull the key out, and it will stay locked. It also shows up in the direct motion as well. It's the nut that's going to hold the... This is what's called slabbed, by the way. This is cut off on the end compared to a standard mortise cylinder. Slabbed construction also is known as double D. Double D, if I can draw the letter D backwards. Double D. Prep. Now, this is flat, this is flat. When you're doing a preparation in a cylinder for, in, say, a metal filing cabinet, you can do a double D prep. And actually, I drew that incorrectly. It should have been like this. That's why those are slabbed, because you can buy a tool, a die set, that will punch this double D prep out to allow you to install a slabbed style cylinder. But you're going to need a way to hold that in, and that's what that nut is for. Okay? Let's wrap up this video on camera. If you are enjoying this video, please click thumbs up or like, and also please consider subscribing to our channel. Let's move on to the rest of the video. The name Best is known for very high quality lock sets. Generally lock sets, a very deep and broad range of available lock sets. The name Best is now under the umbrella of Dormakaba, and Best sister companies are now Stanley and Precision. I know that the branding is changing. What is once Best is now possibly going to be called something else, and what's called something else will now be called Best. That landscape is ever changing. I say just leave it Best. It's a name that's been around for a century. Why change it now? But what the name Best is most known for is the small format interchangeable core. Indeed, it was Frank Best, the founder of Best Lock Company, who patented the small format interchangeable core lock, of which anyone who's ever copied it or cloned it has him to thank for that. Arrow, Falcon, and countless others. Patented in about 1921. Not the exact small format core they use today in that patent, but very similar. And that grew into a epic size ecosystem of commercial locks, keyways based on that small format platform, from an A2 system. I don't know what the first system was called, but there's A2, A3, and A4, and it just matters. It's dependent on the system, the theory of how the locks are keyed at that point, the simple mathematical relationships between pins and cuts, and how you combine a cylinder. A2 is by far the most common. A3 is not developed, although it's supported, and A4 is far less common, but I think a more capable system. It is a more capable system than A2 because it allows more changes. It's a single-step system. Anyway, there is a lot of information that you can find if you dive into the world of Best Frank Best. From what I understand, he was a high school shop teacher, and that would have occurred right around the time of World War I. And he, from the way that I've heard the story I've heard, from the son, from a gentleman who knew the son of Frank Best, is that he had all these keys, and they worked in all these different locks, and there was not one key that worked everything, and he wanted to find a way to make a single key work all the locks that he would encounter. Maybe the lock to his house, or to his drawer in his desk at work, or maybe the door to his desk at work, or who knows what. And he found that he was removing and reinstalling these cylinders constantly, and it was the desire to stop wasting time pulling cylinders out of locks or doors is what led him to the small format concept. Anyway, fun fact. Any questions on the Best A00836 Hex nut or any other Best product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you. Again, thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, please subscribe, and maybe even send the video to someone that you know. Thank you.